Jai Sarva Santan Hari Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Jai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. So today we're celebrating the very auspicious occasion of the festival of disappearance of Srila Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj, Srila Rasikananda Prabhu, and Srila Bhaktidayat Madhav Goswami Maharaj. So we're honored to join devotees in New York City, in Queens, also Orlando, Florida, and everywhere else, where everyone may be, New Jersey, wherever you are, however you are. Dandavats to everybody. Hope you're doing well. So I'll speak for 15 minutes about Srila Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj, and then more devotees will speak, and we'll also continue our separately. Want to hear the instructions of Srila Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj. This is a beautiful book we published last year. This is the life and teachings of Srila Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj, translated from Srila Gurudev's Hindi book. This is the last book that Gurudev worked on in Hindi in 2010. So it's actually compiled from writings of the Gaudiya Math in Bengali by Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada and his disciples. And so we published the life of Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gorkha das Babaji Maharaj, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada. All that was from Bengali to Hindi, and from Hindi we translated to English. So there's some very beautiful instructions and pastimes here. We'll just go over briefly, focusing on the highlights. Srila Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj is one of our Bhagavat Guru Parampara. That means the succession of associates of Radha Krishna who appeared on this earth. Not mere elevated gurus who help practitioners advance but are not actual associates of Radha Krishna or pure devotees. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada established the Bhagavat Guru Parampara, including those personalities who he said are ultimately Nitya eternal associates of Radha Krishna. So Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj has a very interesting and wonderful life that we can take instruction from. He lived for 142 years. So he lived a very long life. Ultimately we know he is eternal, but in this manifest Leela of this world, he lived for 142 years. And so he was described to be Vaishnav Sarvabhauma. Can everyone hear me okay on Zoom? It's okay? So he is Vaishnav Sarvabhauma, which means that he is the Vaishnav teacher who was like the emperor of all the Vaishnavas at that time of his era. So such an exalted, the emperor of all the Vaishnavas, meaning there was many Maharajas, or Maharaj is like a king, but the emperor is one who everyone takes shelter of. So that is Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj. He has a very beautiful life. We don't know so much about his early years because it was not recorded. But the Vaishnavas always say that the family lineage of our Vaishnavas is the Guru Parampara. That is their true family. So what we know most about him is his connection to our spiritual lineage. Whenever we come and take discipleship from Guru in our line, we say we enter the Achyuta Gotra. It means the family of Krishna, Achyuta. So it's like, oh, you are now Achyuta Gotrasya. You are in the family of Krishna. So our Guru Varga, they consider their family to be their spiritual lineage. So the most we know about him is of his family lineage in our bhakti line. So Srila Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj, he spent some time at home before leaving everything and going to practice bhajan. Even from his childhood, he showed the sentiments of bhajan. When he came to Braj, he took shelter. Actually, now this is a very interesting instruction for us about, now we don't have so much time on the Zoom, but we'll talk about it more after perhaps, the Bhagavat Parampara. Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj took initiation from someone called Rasbi Haridas, who was in Nityananda's Parivar line. And he was an exalted devotee and help teacher. But our line teaches the importance of whoever's the Siddha Guru, means the perfected saint, who is, as we said, like an associate of Radha Krishna, pure devotee, either through practice, achieving perfection, or always being perfected. They are who is the most prominent in our life. So for him, his Bhagavat Guru is Madhusudan Das Babaji Maharaj. So Diksha Guru is Rasbihari Das Babaji Maharaj, but most people don't know that. It's not so much a focus for him. Like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, for him the focus was not so much his Diksha Guru as much as Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj. That spiritual, wherever that connection is there, like a mother and a child, there's no need of formality. Their connection is so tight, so natural. So with real Guru and disciples, the connection is like that. The eternal, it's described here by Gurudev, the internal Brajabasi Guru and the eternal Brajbasi disciple. That's the Bhagavat Parampara. So if someone asks you, what is our lineage? It's a line of eternal Brajbasi Gurus and eternal Brajbasi disciples. Therefore, it's a disciplic succession. Each disciple is a Guru, and each of them is the mentality that I am the disciple. They don't have the Guru Abhiman, the Guru ego. I'm simply a disciple. But they're all perfect. And then many Diksha Gurus and disciples are there that are in between, keeping the tradition alive. And therefore we always give so much honor to that. So Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj came to Braj and took shelter of Madhusudan das Babaji Maharaj. Gurudev describes Madhusudan das Babaji Maharaj's transcendental life, which is very amazing. And he emphasizes this because it's a very fantastic pastime. Madhusudan das Babaji Maharaj, when he was 12 years old, a little boy, he met a guru who was passing by, or not spending so much time in his area, and he gave him Harinam and the Krishna mantra, or the Gopal mantra, 18-syllable Gopal mantra. So Madhusudan das Babaji Maharaj chanted that when he was 12 years old. But then his guru left and he didn't know his name. And so as he was growing up, he was chanting, and he was so absorbed in this ecstasy, but he was thinking, without Guru Seva, my life is void. And without understanding the mantras, his guru had not explained the mantras, because he was a young boy. So he left home searching for his guru. And unable to find his guru in Braj, he thought, I will give up my life because I cannot find my guru. What is the point of this existence? He was so deep in his dedication. So what he did, he could not find his guru. It's a very interesting thing Gurudev describes here. This is Gurudev's own teachings from Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada's writings and his line. He said he took a big Giriraj Shila and he tied it around his neck, and he thought, if I cannot find my guru and serve him in this life, I shall give up my life. And so he jumped into Radhakund with this big Shila to give up his life. Such was his immaculate dedication. Radharani and Krishna could not tolerate. How can my dear Bhakta give up his life? So Radharani herself, with Krishna himself and herself, they picked him up out of Radhakund, and he was like in an unconscious state, because they did not directly, they gave a glimpse of themselves, but he was not fully aware. And then they wrote on tal leaves his guru's name and the meanings of all the mantras and so many wonderful instructions. So Madhusudan das Babaji Maharaj found his guru, who is Uddhav Das ji. And Uddhav Das is in the line of Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan. So that's how we are connected to Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan. So we are connected. That's why Sri Madhusudan Das Babaji Maharaj is very important. He was such a great saintly devotee that when he stayed at Surya Kund and did bhajan, he would be so absorbed in his bhajan, he would meditate on the holy pastime. And all the colors of holy would appear on his body. And therefore he became known as Siddha Baba, means like a perfected saint. You can imagine, he would just be doing bhajan and showing the power of the internal absorption manifesting in the external reality. The power of absorption, if we can see it in material terms, materially people absorb themselves in something and they can help manifest it through specific practice. So spiritually, what to speak of spiritually? So Madhusudan das Babaji Maharaj, he would be absorbed in the holy, and all the holy colors would appear on him. So Radharani came directly to Madhusudan das Babaji Maharaj in a dream and said, go and take bath in Surya Kund. My crown is there, my ornaments are there, bring them out and worship them. So you just see how directly his connection was with Srimati Radharani. So we should not think Radharani is something, an idea, something abstract. She directly connects with her devotees. As much as we purify ourselves, become a pure vessel to receive her flow of mercy, she will be there for us. And there's countless examples of Vaishnavas who have this connection with her. There's countless examples. Only some are those that we know. There's countless experiences of devotees who dedicate their lives to serving and to bhajan, and she appears before them. So this is a very important lesson we hear from his Gurudev, Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj. So Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj took his shelter and served for him for many years. After he entered Nitya Leela, he gave him samadhi, and then he again began traveling and preaching. And he also stayed at Surya Kund for a long time. So Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj, I'm going to highlight a few important things about his life. And then as they continue, we'll read his essential instructions. So there's so many interesting pastimes given, but I'll mention just a few important things that we see as highlights. One is that for 40 years, more than 40 years, he was known as like Vaishnav Sarvabhauma. Actually, much longer than that, but his full manifestation of his pastimes, of his Acharya Leela. And at that time, he emphasized especially the importance of Harinam Sankirtan and Harinam Japa. He said, all the other limbs of bhakti, without Harinam, cannot help you. So he showed this and he protected this path of bhakti, showing that without Harinam, everything else is simply, it does not hold that same power. So he engaged everyone in Harinam Sankirtan, Harinam Kirtan, Harinam Seva. Some people tried to come and externally imitate only meditation on Radha Krishna's pastimes. He did not give them that chance. He made them serve in the garden, planting and taking care of flowers and vegetables, chanting kirtan, going on bhiksha. He said, first develop adhikar, qualification. Otherwise, your so-called meditation on Radha Krishna Leela is only speculation, imagination. You must build up sukriti. Sukriti means your spiritual bank balance. You're spiritually poor. Then you want to purchase the highest treasure of Radha Krishna's eternal pastimes and service in those. So develop your sukriti. So he taught that. So he met Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in 1880. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was traveling. Bhaktivinoda Thakur stayed until about 1915. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur had his association off and on for in this way like over 20 years, 25, 30, like that. Bhaktivinoda Thakur came to the ashram of a sadhu in Braj, and Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj was there. And immediately Bhaktivinoda Thakur understood he is pure devotee. One pure devotee can understand and recognize another. Immediately he understood he is of another level. And so he took shelter of him the first time he heard Harikatha, and he accepted him as his Bhagavat Guru, means Paramarthika Guru. There's Guru who may be like formality that is required to become initiated into the process of Vishnu Puja, Vishnu Diksha. That Guru may be the Bhagavat Guru, but it's not always the case. And so sometimes it may be the case that the highest Guru one takes shelter of in this life is not directly the initiating Guru. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur recognized Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj as his eternal Guru. And he started practicing bhajan and taking his guidance. Although Bhaktivinoda Thakur was already doing bhajan. But he took his guidance. And they followed, this is the second thing I want to highlight. So first is Harinam and Hari Kirtan. Second is Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj, how strictly he would follow Ekadashi. Some people in the Gaudiya line think, oh, Ekadashi, it's like a formality. It's not really the Surup Siddha Bhakti. Like the most important essential characteristics of Bhakti. But he showed no. Without following Ekadashi, she is our mother of Bhakti. How are we going to get spiritual potency and develop in Bhakti without her shelter? If we neglect Bhakti, Ekadashi Devi, she is Bhakti Janani, the mother of Bhakti. So we should not neglect her. How did he follow though? He would do Ratri Jagaran. He would stay awake all night, and so they did it with Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in one of his journals, his autobiography, how he was with Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj doing the whole night Sankirtan. The entire night Harinam Sankirtan. Doesn't mean they slept in the day and then nighttime they woke up. The whole day and the whole night. Absorption in Kirtan, Harikatha, Bhajan. All night, and in the morning time they did Nagar Sankirtan of the town. Up to 8 a.m. Then they took Paran. This was in Amlajora, one place. And then they established the Prapanashram. So this was like the first model for ashrams in our Gaudiya lineage since the time of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and the other saints. It was like this tradition of having, there would be kutirs and huts, but it wasn't so much formalized. The sadhu, the villagers would give them a place. They would do bhajan there. People would come and visit. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur established, no, there must be some kind of system, meaning some kind of place where jivas can come and practice. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote about that in Jaiva Dharma, how they would have these ashrams. So he started these prapanashrams. And it was under his direction that they started preaching more widely. So another thing Gurudev talks about in here, he said Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj was a very powerful preacher. He was Goshtanandi. He would travel and preach everywhere. Over 40 years he was traveling and preaching. That's how he became known as Vaishnav Sarvabhauma. Without any kind of Guru Abhiman, simply trying to spread the message of Gaur Nityananda Prabhu, he went everywhere and preached. Gaura Mandal, Kshetra Mandal, Navadvip, Puri, Braj Mandal. So then he became Vaishnav Sarvabhauma. If someone's Vaishnav Sarvabhauma, it means all the Vaishnavas in Puri, Orissa, all the Vaishnavas in Gaura Mandal, all the Vaishnavas, generally the Gaudiyas in South India even maybe, who are there, and Braj Mandal. All of them accepted him as Vaishnav Sarvabhauma. The emperor of all the Vaishnavas, Vaishnav Samrat, like the general of devotees, protecting the bhakti of all aspiring sadhakas, all practicing devotees. Another very important thing about his life, he established Vaishnav calendar. This was very important for the devotees. He said also specific things. He said, where is Vishnupriya's Devi's day? It's not just like he gave specific details. Oh, he helped find, no, this is the day of the appearance of Vishnupriya Devi. You should worship this day. Put this day in the calendar. You should put this day in the calendar. And he instructed Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, who was at that time Siddhanta Saraswati, who was expert astrologer. He said you should compile the Vaishnava Panjika. And to this day, we all owe our gratitude to him for establishing the Vaishnava calendar. That's how we follow Janmastami, Radhastami, Guru Purnima, Gaur Purnima, and all these other titis. He said all Vaishnavira Gunagan Kodilitra Jivaratran. By honoring these days of all the acharyas, we make relation to them, and then Krishna is pleased with us because we make relation to his devotees. So we owe that, we honor him for that, establishing the importance of the Vaishnava Panjika. We were reading in Chaitanya Charitamrita just the other day in the mornings, every day Chaitanya Charitamrita class, how Gaur Nityananda Prabhu appear in the east, like the sun and moon rising together, and then that comes to the west. So he established the Mayapur Panjika, and all Gaudiya Mats followed this, that everyone follows according to where is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj established Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is our central, he is the central figure in our entire line, not even Radha Krishna as much as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Without Mahaprabhu, we don't have any relation with Radha Krishna. Therefore, Mahaprabhu is most important. Therefore, we follow this Mayapur Panjika. It's extremely important. So, actually, we were just reading the other day, March 6th, Swami Prabhupada had his journal entry. He was writing, he was in the Monroe Ananda Ashram, only 30 minutes from us. And he was writing, at that time, he said, today is Adivas. The Adivas means the day before Gaur Purnima, according to the Mayapur Panjika. Swami Prabhupada writes, the Vaishnava Mayapur Panjika. And all the devotees are there celebrating. And I am here alone, but I am trying to follow. So the importance of that calendar for devotees should not be minimized at all. Another very important thing is, you could say one of the most important things, is establishment of Sri Mayapur Dham, the appearance place of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He came there by Bhaktivinoda Thakur's request. Bhaktivinoda Thakur had been spending so much energy trying to establish this because it had been hidden by the Ganga for over 100 years. And actually, Nityananda Prabhu said that would happen. In the Navadvip Dham Mahatmya, it's there. He said for some generations, this will be hidden by the Ganga. But then when the time is ripe, Bhakti Bhagirat, Bhaktivinoda Thakur will come and re-established. But we mostly credit Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj even more than Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Even though Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the one found the maps, the government maps, and had the vision of the abode Many nights he was in Godrum, Surabhi Kunj, and he would see this lustrous, luminous kirtan going on over the river, and he would go and search for it, and there was a tulsi garden. And actually at that time, Muslims owned that area, and they would try to take out the tulsi, and she would grow back immediately, showing that wherever the Lord is present, Tulsi Devi, his beloved, will automatically appear. You cannot uproot Tulsi if she wants to be there. If you neglect her somewhere else, she'll say, okay, I'll go. But in Mayapur Dham, doesn't matter if you neglect. Even if you uproot her, she will come back. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur knew this must be the place. But Vaishnav Sarvabhauma, Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj, was so important to establish the authority of Mayapur, because he was Vaishnav Sarvabhauma. Everyone accepted him. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was accepted more later. And he was accepted, but Vaishnav Sarvabhauma, Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj, he came there carried in a basket by his sevak Biharidas. His sevak Biharidas, who would carry him for a very long time. He was a Brijbasi, very loyal sevak. He carried him all the way from Braj to Navadvip Mayapur. So many interesting pastimes. At that time it was very difficult. There wasn't a train, wasn't a car, wasn't a plane. They would walk from village to village. He would carry him. Even in the jungle, they saw tigers. And Biharidas was very afraid. And he wanted to go a different way. And Jagannath Das Babaji said, no, you must go that way. The tigers will also do kirtan. So he was fearless. And he was so feeble at that time. He was like at that time 130, very old. He would have to have the sevak hold up his eyelids because they were drooping down from old age, so he would not see. So his sevak, they would hold up his eyes, his lids, so that he could see. Even though Vaishnavas always has transcendental vision. Even though he was so old, when he came to Mayapur Dham, Bhaktivinoda Thakur had requested him to come. He came and he led all these other sadhus and Gaudiya Vaishnavas. He didn't come alone. Meaning he came, everyone heard, for over a month. It takes a few months to come, carrying him on a basket, going village to village, preaching also. So for that whole time, everyone was hearing, Sarvabhauma, Vaishnav Sarvabhauma, he's going to Mayapur, establishing Mahaprabhu's birthplace. From all over Bengal, Puri, Braj, all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas came like the many rivers flooding to the ocean of Mahaprabhu's holy appearance place. The power, the central point for all Gaudiya Vaishnavas, establishing that. So everyone began to flow in like tributaries. And when he arrived, everyone was there. They had a festival for over a month. Every day, non-stop Harinam Sankirtan. And when he arrived, he jumped out of the basket and began to jump and dance many feet up in the air, singing Jai Gaur Nityananda, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga. He would sing Nitai Ki Naam Anechere. He would sing the special kirtan. So that time, how could anyone argue who is a Gaudiya Vaishnava? The only ones who argue, some like Smartas and some others who had this idea, Kuliya, because they had some kind of way of getting wealth from people, saying, this is Mahaprabhu's place. And then they would take money from people. But all the Gaudiyas, the real Gaudiyas, they all accepted. For 1 month, they had this non-stop kirtan going on. And he established very strongly the appearance place of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yes, and then when they started excavation for a temple, they found the murtis worshipped by Adoksaj, worshipped by Jagannath Mishra and later also Vishnupriya Devi. So Rupa Prabhu, I'll continue class here, but you can please continue on Zoom.
Thank you so much.
Haribo. So I'll give a few interesting little anecdotes, and then I'll speak briefly about Rasikananda, and then we can stop, or if we want, we can read his instructions. We can do another kirtan. He told an interesting story about money, actually. A few interesting. And something that's interesting about Niskinchan Vaishnavas, who are completely detached. Was he the one with the Rasgullas? Yes. Or is that Gorkha Das Babaji Maharaj? Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj, he established, one thing is that he established Gornitai Didis at one point, and then, he's the one with the puppies. It's very interesting pastimes will tell. So one is that he established Gornitai Didi, a temple, but then after some time he told his Sevak Biharidas to give them to another, temple to maintain. He said, at that time he was traveling, he said, he would kind of sometimes fight with Gornitai also, right? So very sweet pastimes. But he mainly emphasized, Didi Seva is extremely important. But for the Parivrajaka it's not always practical that they're directly maintaining. When he was so affectionate, he would keep, once in the area where he was residing in Braj, one dog had many puppies, like 8 or 9 puppies. And when he would take his meal once a day, he would let them come, because they were just little puppies, he would let them come and eat off his plate. And his Sevak Bihari Das would try to take them away. He would try to take the puppies away. But he was so affectionate to them that even though he was like blind at that time, he would feel them and count them with his hands. And they would all eat his plate. And Bihari Das would take them away and say, no, bring them back. And then he would say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He said, they're Dambasis. And our Vaishnavas say we should not imitate.
He was also doing that so that no one would take his remnants. Because if they had faith, they would still take. But he also...
Sleeping? So another reason, yes. People would not have real faith in the prasad. He said, the dogs are eating, we will not take it. But he was eating with them. He said, they're Dambasis. Rasikananda das Babaji Maharaj was similar in that way, meaning a similar mood. Once there was a Bhagavatam reciter, this is also here in this book, who would only recite the Bhagavatam for money. And he would say, he would try to get everyone to come, and everyone generally was coming, but Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj never went to his Bhagavatam. And everyone knew he was like the most senior Vaishnava, so they're thinking he's not coming. Finally, once he asked him, and that, you go before for chastity, it's like, if they're not going, there's a reason. And if you go and ask them, why are you not coming? It's asking for some hot sauce. So he said, your Bhagavatam is not Bhagavatam. You're not chanting Krishna name. You're only doing takada sikata. Takada sikata means coin counting. This is Goksha's Babaji Maharaj story, but it's here directly. Maybe not the takada sikata, but I was just reading this story where he said that your Bhagavatam is only for the pursuit of money and wealth and fame. So this is actually an offense to the Bhagavatam. You should not do Bhagavat Vyavasa, means Bhagavat business. And our acharyas, since then, it's very important. We don't do Bhagavat business. Meaning, the Vaishnavas preach, they're in this kinchan. Anyone gives, they give. Krishna is giving. But they don't say, we're going to do a Bhagavatam, whoever will sponsor 10 lakhs, $10,000, we'll do a Bhagavatam for you. Or at a certain point, your higher status, no, we don't do Bhagavatam for anything less than $50,000. Or we don't do Bhagavatam for anything less than 1 crore. So our acharyas very strongly ridiculed the Bhagavat business. And he so strongly chastised Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj that... Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj was thinking about the Zooms. Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj so strongly chastised him, but he was pure enough, meaning he was receptive enough to accept the instruction and change his life. And he actually became a Mahabhagavat Guru, meaning he became a pure devotee, and he became so humble. He was actually, before he was very proud of being a high-class Brahmin. He would offer pranam to the dogs and the dog eaters in the Dham. He would offer pranam to everyone. So it's shown Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj, he was very helpful to everyone, whether they were Brahmins or low class by status in society, he helped everybody. One more story and then we'll do his instructions, I think. There's an interesting story he says about, it's called the sting of 1 rupee. Once when he was traveling, he was given a rupee by a householder. And he took that rupee. At that time, rupee was very valuable, like a Bitcoin. So he took that for a few miles walking with Bihari Das, and they said, let's go back. So they walked back like 3-4 miles. He went back to the householder and said, please take your rupee back. He said, I do not know how you carry so many rupees. You're known to have lots of rupees, many Bitcoin. I cannot tolerate the sting of even 1 rupee. How do you tolerate so many rupees? He said, take it back. So this is showing that the Vaishnavas are in this kinshan, that they're not attached to anything. He would be whatever Krishna desires will come, but we should not be attached. Showing this lesson. There's a similar story, Sanatana Goswami. One of his followers had 8 gold coins remaining. You remember this story, right? Ishan. And the dacoit was going to kill them for this, because he had an astrologer. And Ishan gave 7 coins, and he kept 1. And the dacoit king said, I was still going to kill you. You have 1 left. But he wasn't going to kill him, but he basically revealed there was 1 more.
Yeah, he said there's 8.
There's
But
8.
He gave 7.
He gave 7.
But I'm happy. He was fine, but then...
The dacoit was happy, but Sanatana Goswami sent Ishan home. He said you should have complete dependence on Krishna. So the Goswamis, they manifested Radhakund, Shamkund, so many temples. And doing manifesting that takes a lot of money. But if Krishna wants, he'll send everything. So we should not be disturbed and think about that. The main thing is to not be attached. Trivikram Goswami Maharaj would say that a person who is a sadhu with no home, no possessions, sleeping under a different tree every night, much more happy than a very rich person in a palace who's always in anxiety. Oh, this person will steal. Oh, my family will backstab me. Oh, this person wants to kill me. A sadhu is much, even, someone who's detached, living every day under a different tree, much more happy. But it's not so easy, In India, there's this culture of sadhus, ashrams, beggars. You can go on bhiksha and beg. In New York, in America, that culture is not there. There's no sadhus, there's bums. And some bums may be sadhus. It's not so common. But rich people have much more tension. Security, armored car, will my kids get kidnapped and held for ransom? So many tensions. Embezzlement, fraud, in prison, how to evade taxes. So much anxiety comes. I guess so. Taxes. Well, maybe rich people worry about hiding it more. I don't know. Because they have to give away like most of it. Just because the government bleeds them for it. Another interesting thing, when he did get donations, he would save it, and then he would sometimes have festivals. He had a festival where he fed rasgullas to all the cows in Braj. Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj. I read this thing of a rupee, but a lot of them are similar. I think this may be Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj. But what they would do is he collected a lot of whatever money was given to him, he kept in a box. I think this is Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj. But after like a month or so, he told his sevak to take it all out and go buy rasgullas. And they bought like hundreds and hundreds of rasgullas, and he thought he would distribute it to all the sadhus. But what did he say? He said, give it to all the cows and all the dogs. There are better sadhus than most of these sadhus. He said, no, I will not give to them. So these are some of the stories of Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj. We'll read some of his instructions. I'll tell 5 minutes about Rasikananda Prabhu, who's also today. Maybe tomorrow. Amla Joda, wherever that is. Rasikananda Prabhu was a very amazing saint in our line. You see these pastimes, people have faith in these pastimes. They're given by acharyas. More modern pastimes, people think, this is too fantastic. But this is directly given by Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada in his line. All these pastimes of Madhusudan Das Babaji Maharaj, how he jumped with Giriraj into Radhakund, Radhakrishna came and saved him, how Radharani directly said, here is my ornaments and my crown, worship this. So many pastimes like this. Rasikananda was the son of a king. So he was a very prestigious birth. But he was a Parama Vaishnav, pure devotee. He was the most prominent disciple of Srila Shyamananda Prabhu. Shyamananda, Narottam Srinivas, they preached in West Bengal, East Bengal, or Bangladesh, and Orissa. So Shyamananda Prabhu preached primarily in Orissa by the instruction of Sri Jiva Goswami. And his prominent follower was Rasikananda Prabhu. And Rasikananda Prabhu was such a powerful kirtani and preacher. Many people were opposed to him, tried to harm him, different things. But he was such a powerful preacher, people were envious. One time, many wild elephants tried to, there were mad elephants that were going to stampede and kill him. They were rushing towards him. You imagine a pack of elephants coming at you, running at you, mad elephants. What did he do? He very peacefully he has an achman, sprinkled some achman towards them, and said, chant Hare Krishna. And all the elephants stopped in their tracks and with their trunks. Hare Krishna. Try again, maybe. I was thinking they must have done like something similar, like maybe they did the right melody. But you imagine, he was sitting there like using the force. He used all these like bunch of mad elephants running at him, threw some Abhishek water, some Charnamrita water, and said, chant Hare Krishna. And so he is described to be like Mahaprabhu in one sense. He was so powerful because Mahaprabhu made the tigers, the lions, the elephants dance in Jharkhand. And Rasikananda Prabhu was the same. So many pastimes. There's other pastimes similar to that. So he was such a powerful preacher. He preached everywhere and all over, you know. When they would preach village to village, this is the power of a pure devotee. You know, everyone would just become like with Gurudev when he would travel. Everyone being in the presence of such a saintly devotee and the kirtans they would have. He was also like Nityananda, meaning they would have these kirtans that, you know, you could go on for the whole day and everyone was intoxicated in bhav and prem, in this bliss of Sankirtan. You know, the whole day doing Sankirtan. So actually, when he left, just the story of his departure, he started a Sankirtan. It's one of the most amazing things you'll hear. Showing again, like the caliber of the Vaishnavas in our line. He was doing Sankirtan with all his associates for hours and hours, a glorious Kirtan at Kirchor Gopinath. And then as the Kirtan was reaching its final climax, he rushed and entered into the deity of Kirchor Gopinath and disappeared. Immediately, all of his followers, all of his disciples dropped their instruments and gave up their bodies. And they all were given samadhi there. So we go there on parikrama. Have you been? We go there on parikrama. And the samadhis of Kirchor Gopinath at Rasikananda Prabhu and all his disciples. Imagine that. All his prominent disciples there. They could not tolerate separation from their guru. At once, they gave up their bodies, not thinking, oh, this body is so important. Oh, my Gurudev, where is he? Where is Radha Krishna? He is serving them there. Let me go there at once. You can imagine the power of their separation. Oh, Kirchor Gopinath is so beautiful. You go there and you get the prasad that Madhavendra Puri Pad got. Kirchor Gopinath is so beautiful. He's so sweet. Kirchor Gopinath, the story. You know the story, Kalanidiji? Kalanidiji, you know the story? He hid the kheer that his pujaris would offer, and this very famous kheer. And so Madhavendra Puri wanted to offer that kheer to his Gopalji, who had been manifest, that he had found in Braj. And so he was thinking like that, but he didn't want to ask, because he didn't have any money, he didn't want to ask. But Gopinathji himself hid that kheer. And so when the pujari was taking it out, there was one pot missing. And later he woke the pujari and said, I hid it under my cloth. Go take it to my dear Bhakta, Madhavendra Puri. So that is Kirchor Gopinath, the thief, who took it for he stole the kheer for his own devotee, Kirchor Gopinath. Everything is his. We are the thieves who think this is mine and we take it so sometimes he has to take it back. No, this one is for my devotee. Otherwise, you take everything and you sell it. Where's my share? You're offering it to me. Where's my share? You're selling it, making money. What about mine? So he hid it and he gave it to his bhakta. So at that place, Rasikananda entered into his transcendental form and all his disciples achieved samadhi. Same time. That's why we think, Gurudev has left now 10 years. So long. How can we live? And so many, hopefully not so many years left. And we can leave. But why we haven't left yet, we have to think. We still have to progress in our sadhana. There's still work to do. There's Guru Seva to do. There's service to Srila Gurudev. We shouldn't be selfish. Gurudev wants us to serve. And we also have to progress and build up our spiritual bank balance, build up Sukriti, and serve Gurudev. And then by that service, we can come closer and closer. And we pray that when we give up our bodies, let it be in complete samadhi, meditating on Gurudev. Then we can go wherever he is. Yang smaram bhavat tyaji, Krishna says in the Gita. Whatever you meditate upon at the time of death, you will achieve that state. So we pray that by our cultivation of bhakti and service to Gurudev in this life, at the time of death, we can be completely absorbed in him. Then we will go to Radha Krishna. We try to go to Radha Krishna, we may not, who knows, if we'll get entrance there. But if we remember Gurudev, Gurudev is there. So we will be there with him. So we remember Rasikananda Prabhu. We'll speak more about Bhaktivedanta Madhav Goswami Maharaj tomorrow. I want to read his instructions. So nice. The essential instructions of Srila Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj. Never meet or associate with monkeys wearing the dress of renunciation, who are hypocrites holding on to ulterior motives for wealth, women, and prestige. Never take the food of a sense enjoyer, otherwise you will become one. By the mercy of Gaura Dham, one will obtain residence in Braj. Each one of these you could go into for a long time. You can stop at any point if anyone wants to mention anything or discuss anything. 4. Worldly misfortune should be considered the compassion of God. That's a tough one. Yes. Harishye tadhanam sanai. Worldly misfortune should be considered the compassion of Krishna. And if Krishna wants us to have prosperity, that's also his compassion. But we should be detached. Whatever he wants to give us, it's his desire. No problem. The most important thing is our relationship. You can be a poor person, but with a great relationship, be in love, that's a fairy tale. If you're truly in love. So we want to truly be in love with Krishna, with Gurudev, with Radharani. Then if we're poor or wealthy, let's be in love. You know? If we're wealthy and we don't have a relationship, no love, that wealth, then we just become like Scrooge or like, yeah, no relationship, no love, no sweetness, just dry. Let's choose love and sweetness and relationship. And then if Krishna wants, he can give. If he wants, he can take away. Wow, there's a lot. Okay, we'll do the first page at least. One cannot be called a sannyasi simply by taking the external cloth of a renunciant. One is not a sannyasi until love and attraction for Krishna and his service has appeared in the heart. Real sannyas. The gopis are the real sannyasis. Therefore Mahaprabhu said, Mukunda sevan vrata koilan nirdharan. I will follow the gopis, how they served Krishna. And then I will be a sannyasi. Although illnesses, this is a practical instruction. Although illnesses that cause misery may be present in the body of a person desiring to perform bhajan, because he abstains from rich, delicious foodstuffs, automatically the sicknesses will go away. So it means you'll get sick, and that'll cause you pain and distress, even if you're trying to do bhajan. But if you can avoid too much pizza and ice cream, too much rich, heavy food, too much opulent food, then these sicknesses will go away. So he's basically teaching simplicity, You don't find, if people work hard and they're eating veggies, and their spinach, beans, rice, and dal, some ghee, they'll be healthy. If you're always eating processed food, what does it mean by like opulent food? Like heavily processed, refined sugars and things like that. They deplete the energy of the body. So he said, don't worry about sickness. It comes and goes. But if you just try to live, without too much opulence, you'll be okay. It'll go. These illnesses take refuge in gentlemen who live a luxurious life, as well as persons attached. I can imagine, in India at that time, It's very famous. You're not healthy unless you're fat. That's what they say. Healthy means, are they very healthy? Baka sadhu. Or like, if you're skinny, they think you're from a poor family. If you're fat, very healthy. You'll see the shopkeepers in Loy Bazaar, very healthy.
Well, they're changing their ways now because the diabetes rate is
Yeah, so they get sick and they think, we're very aristocrat fat people. Unless you're healthy, fatty, you're not aristocrats.
No, but actually in history, all the kings were always the most unhealthy because they always had king's diet.
Yes.
And the poor people eating simply and working hard was one.
Okay. One should not, even within one's mind, beat the drum of self-glory, thinking, I have performed service. Otherwise, one's service is not called seva. Whew. The instructions are always so essential. Upadeshavali. Important for us, for the sadhus. Actually, there's a story in here that says, it's like a paragraph Gurudev says. Gurudev says that to those who did not get his real mercy, he would give opulence, he would give possessions, because actually a pure devotee, Vaishnava Sarvabhauma, 140 years old, a lot of money and possessions would come to them. He would give it to those people who were not ready for his real mercy. Those who are ready for his real mercy, he gave strong chastisement. This is what Gurudev writes. So that's why we're getting his mercy through Gurudev here in his instructions. So we should not beat the drum in our minds even. Like sometimes it's like on face, it's like, oh, I did this. I built this, I did that, He's saying don't even do it in your mind. I have done this great seva. Otherwise, one's seva cannot be called seva. That's in the Bible, isn't it? One should give charity in secret. Otherwise, Jesus, doesn't he say something like, you've already got the reward of your charity by the name and fame. If you want the higher reward, But Vaishnava pratishtatate koronishta. If Gurudev wants to praise his disciples, we should accept that as his mercy also. And take it as a lesson to try to maintain humility despite that. There's a story of Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada disciple he gave him a gold cup that he was given, I think by the British or someone aristocratic. He gave him a gold cup, and Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada was full of saffron milk. Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada took a sip and gave it to one of his disciples. That disciple later on rejected his guru. He later, helped, break up the mutt. Because he was very proud. Oh, I'm the best one. So we have to be careful. Do not develop laziness on the pretext of performing solitary bhajan. So we were telling that story. He said, no, go and plant eggplants. Oh, I'm just going to sit in my room all day. Like the Vaishnava says, first, there's a meme. Have you seen the cat meme of the person, the cat meme of the person chanting, how everyone does asanas, and then me doing japa is a cat laying down with his legs out. That's my japa asana. On the couch, leg out, And after a while, you just lay down. He said, that's not real bhajan. Real bhajan is Narahari Seva Vigraha Prabhu. He was one of the dear friends of Param Gurudev and disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada. He would serve all day, but he would not stop or go to sleep until he finished the 64 rounds, so he would tie his sika to a nail on the wall. And as he would fall asleep, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, and maybe after a half hour.
Also, you couldn't move, right?
Yeah, it's like how much restriction? Not much. Believe it.
Yeah, maybe he had a big sika, I don't know. Okay, we can listen to this one. This is a good one. Kind of a follow-up one. What time is it? How much time is on the camera? 25.
It's 26.
We should finish. What time is, who wants to, should we keep going or should we finish? Let's finish.
Gotta keep going to finish.
Let's finish. Okay. Okay, one more. One more and we'll stop. 2, 3 more. It is more beneficial to cultivate fields and water plants for the service of Vaishnavas than to inattentively pull beads hundreds of thousands of times while chanting. It is more beneficial to cultivate fields and water plants for the service of the Vaishnavas, developing Sukriti, than to do the cat asana and chant lakhs and lakhs and lakhs and lakhs of Harinam, just like no seva. Harinam and seva must go hand in hand. They feed each other. If you do seva, service, without Harinam, it becomes karma. And then you start beating the drum of your seva, like, oh, I did so much. Then it's not seva. But if you develop Harinam and seva together, that is pure. Otherwise, Without doing the seva, you don't develop this krita to become pure, to really relish Shuddhanam. You maintain namaparad, offenses to the holy name. Last one. Oh, let's finish this one. Okay. The result of service to the Vaishnavas is real, sincere taste for the holy name. Do not imitate the Vaishnavas, or you will be burnt to ashes. Pray to serve them without duplicity. Srila Jagannath das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vancha kalpatribhasya kripa sindhevcha pritanang pavnebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo.